I want you to be honest with me. Would you spend the night in a tent like this? Maybe out here on my farm or another farm, at a place where you can be more connected with the natural surroundings here. Maybe hearing some chickens or turkeys or a cow, or maybe in the middle of the night, one of my ducks just climbs right in there and starts sleeping with you. Just kidding, that wouldn't happen, at least I think. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, my family and I, we live in a yurt. Yep, a yurt. We've lived in a yurt for a number of years now, and it's been everything that we have needed it to be to live this lifestyle. With the exception of, we don't have extra space to house any visitors or guests that may want to come and spend the night here. Back in 2022, our family went on an epic cross-country trip. We rented a camper van from Gearbox Adventures and we traveled across the country. We ended up driving something like 4,700 miles round trip to see some amazing places. Some places that have been on my bucket list, like the Grand Canyon. We got to see that. We also traveled up to Utah and was able to see the Redmond salt mine. And in that mine, we were like 700 feet underground, seeing where they harvest salt. It's amazing. And each night of that trip, we would park the camper van in some really neat spots with some great views. And one of those places was a farm. Yep, another farm that also had tents like this one right here, a Stout tent. They actually had a number of those tents and they offered them for guests to stay in. And seeing those tents got us thinking, it would be neat to have a Stout tent like those on our farm for additional space for us, but also for guests to come stay in. So last fall, my wife and I, we decided to get one. We got this Stout tent right here for us to be able to have that additional space that we have wanted for us, but also for guests. Because if they're coming to see our farm, they probably don't want to stay in a hotel. They may want to come here and have a full farm experience. And this Stout tent was super easy to set up. And it's a 4-season tent that we can leave up throughout the year in whatever season we may have guests. But we haven't had any guests as of yet. But recently, my wife told me
Patrick said him and Ryan are going to be in town and they were wondering if they could crash at our place tonight. And you may be wondering who Patrick and Ryan are. Well, they're friends of ours that we met years ago at a homesteading conference. And remember that trip that we took, that camper van trip? Well, our first stop on that trip was to Patrick and Emily, his wife's house. They have a big loving family, and Ryan is one of his daughters that he brought on this trip.
So we're having our first guest. But before they arrived, I definitely wanted to make sure we cleaned up just a little bit, because at this time of year, the grass is growing like crazy. And we're at the point now where we're having to do landscaping at least once a week. And there's been some grass growing around the tent, so I definitely wanted to weed eat around there first. Now long term, I'd like to build a deck or a platform for the tent to be on, just like that farm that we stayed at on our camper van trip. But in the meantime, I'm just gonna have to make sure that we keep the weeds down. And to be honest, I was nervous weed eating around the tent for the first time because I didn't want to punch a hole in it or cut it up with the weed eater, so I was being as careful as I can, even though the material is really heavy duty material. It's a 4-season tent and it's pretty sturdy. And then came the time for their arrival.
And when they arrived, Micah and I helped Ryan get all their stuff settled in the Stout tent.
You're a donkey. And then like, my farm.
to do it that way. You can do it that way too.
Me.
With new people being on the farm, it was kind of going crazy. The dogs were barking, the geese were honking. It was so loud. I was just hoping they were going to be able to get a good night's sleep.
They set this place up just for me. So this is where we're sleeping tonight. Careful, I might invite myself over to your place.
And with the animals going crazy that night, I was like, oh man, I hope they slept well. I slept well inside our yurt here. But that morning I was like, let's go see how it went for them.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, how are you?
That's great.
How'd you sleep?
Good.
Hopefully the dog wasn't too loud for you or anything.
No, but that one of those roosters, man, he wanted to let me know. He wanted to let me know. I mean, at like 4 in the morning.
Oh,
I'm like,
man.
Come on now, it's not even close to sunrise. Not even close.
It is an early riser, sorry about that.
You know,
Did you know this? If so, let me know in the comment section below. And that is that roosters don't just crow at sunrise. I know a lot of people think that roosters only crow when the sun comes up. No, they will actually crow more than that. They'll start at least an hour or two before sunrise. And then they can crow even more times than that, sometimes throughout the day at various times. And sometimes I've had them do it just randomly at midnight. Oh, but that's just the fun fact for today. One of the things that we haven't told you about Patrick is that he is a knife maker. When I think of that, I kind of think of some of those shows like Forged on Fire and some of the blacksmiths who are making these really cool swords and things like that. Patrick doesn't necessarily do it exactly like that, but he does make high quality knives. And while we were prepping for breakfast, he showed me a couple things with his knife.
here's my, you know, you were asking about, you know, you got that. Here's my safe, you know, baton and wood. Can process it down.
Wow.
Some people say batoning with a knife is abuse, but you can get your knife up there. Process that down.
Wow.
And then you can do what they call a feather stick, which this is kind of a smaller knife for this kind of, and then you can, by locking here, I can use this as like a fulcrum. This is really good because you have a lot of power to cut. You can make some, but I would make, you know, if we were trying to start a fire and you didn't have any egg cartons or lint, you know, make a bunch of little feather sticks like this. It just makes lighting your fire a lot easier.
So we both ended up working together and getting our starter material for our fire to make breakfast for everybody.
The more prep work you do, the easier it is. It's like you always want to do enough prep work that you think you need it, and then like triple that, and then you're gonna have a successful fire.
That's right.
This actually cuts really easy. All this stuff here. Three hours later.
And one of the things with starting a fire, especially if you're using a fire to cook with, is that you want to get more materials than you may think you need. And I did that. At least I thought I did. And I thought we were just cooking eggs, but then the ladies bring out sausages. So on top of eggs, we're also making sausages, and I'm like, I wasn't planning to make this much. Okay, let's add some more to the fire. Now, my original plan was for me to cook breakfast and just serve everybody, and they could just sit back and relax. But with Patrick being the kind of guy that he is, he just had to hop in and help me out, and I was totally okay with that because we got to spend time chatting about all kinds of things. From farming to YouTube to homesteading to faith and family, you name it. We enjoy just cooking up stuff and chatting.
Butter.
And while the guys were fixing breakfast, Ryan and I got to sit around and talk about our homesteads. We have a homestead and they do too. And matter of fact, she actually takes care of their milk cow. So we had a lot to talk about.
Don't need smoking eyeballs.
Smoking eyeballs.
So we got all the sausages cooked up, and then we used that remaining juice from those sausages to cook up the eggs. Yummy. You can zoom in on this one a little bit.
See, everybody thinks they're fancy if they're Alexa. Look at you. Voice activated recording.
I like that.
Zoom in.
And after cooking it all up, it was time to serve breakfast. And everyone was pretty excited to eat.
Okay.
You ready to eat?
You're welcome. And there's cheese and
Like me, he likes the crispy sauce.
I see.
you want salsa?
Fork.
Side. You want? Come here, decide. You don't want a bunch of it.
The Yummy Hezekiah?
Guys, could you put some block on it?
No, elbows at the table.
Oh, there we go. At least one satisfied customer. What all do you like to put on your eggs? Do you like to put salt, pepper? Some people like ketchup. I don't know. You people who like ketchup on your eggs. Oh, and those people who like mustard on their eggs. Oh, you people are a little weird. I'm just kidding, because I like some interesting things as well. I like barbecue sauce on things, but I like salt and pepper on my eggs. But I also like, in our family, we are huge fans of the Redmond seasonings. We like chili lime. We put this stuff on about everything. It is yummy. We also use taco seasoning and things like that. Make sure to check out Patrick's super handy knives at mtknives.net. And if you want to season your meals like we do on the farm, grab some Redmond seasoning and save 15% with my coupon code FITFARMER at checkout. Then after we were all done with breakfast, we cleaned up, and then we went out, and Patrick showed me some more neat things that you can do with his knives that some I wouldn't even have thought of doing.
Sometimes you want to remove something like this tree here, and it can be done with a neck knife, a knife this size. So it's really about having a sharp knife and knowing how to use it. So say you want to get rid of this. I'm going to come and I'm going to put pressure on this tree. We'll get her down. And I'm going to cut down at an angle.
Oh, wow.
So there you go.
Man.
So.
Dude, that was quick.
Yeah. You don't necessarily need a chainsaw, or, you know, even loppers would, unless you had a good pair, would have a hard time. Now this does pose kind of a dangerous situation here. So I'll come and go ahead and trim this down a little bit. Make sure, you know, somebody doesn't impale themselves on it. And then, like, you got this tree growing through the fence here. Same thing.
Now, I've had one of Patrick's knives for years now, and I've used that thing for about everything, but I've never really used it for trimming things in the garden and out on the homestead. So some of those things that he showed me, those are brand new to me. Just some more things that I can beat up the knife that I got from him with.
I don't want to hit, I'm trying not to hit the fence with my knife. You know, ideally, like I'd cut this, you can kind of tell where it, the one thing people don't realize is it's really easy to dull your knife just hitting that fence. So, but now right here, I'm going to use the fence as a fulcrum. So I get a lot of leverage there to cut that branch, right? So we'll get this fence cut out, or this tree cut out of here. Same here, I can bring this down over my knife blade and pivot off the fence. You know, you're just giving yourself some compound advantage here. Same here, I'm being very careful that I don't run my blade into that fence. I'm gonna come up underneath and look, like, with very little force. Oop.
There we go, wow.
So that's all out of the fence.
And this is a spot where it would have been hard for me to even get any other type of equipment in, but so that knife can just reach in there really easy.
Let's see if, ready?
Oh, you're gonna try to hop the fence?
I'm gonna hop the fence.
Watch out, Micah.
Ready? Oh!
Woo!
I didn't crush it too bad.
You still got it, right?
We made it.
Still got it.
Still got it.
To be honest with you, I'm impressed. Being able to do something like that in your 40s, a lot different than when you're in your 20s, being able to hop right over that. So as he started working on trimming some more, I couldn't help but just stand there thinking, I need to try that. I haven't tried something like this in years. Can I do it? Oh man, it'd be embarrassing if I don't. Oh, come on, Mike. All right, let me hop over there with you.
Okay.
See if I can do what you did. He makes me, man, can I do it too? I don't need the oven mitt anymore. It may look easy.
Oh, there we go. You made it. No injuries. We're good.
That wasn't pretty. Definitely not like when I was 20, but at least I got over.
The trick is, you know, I'm not trying to cut perpendicular to the branch. I'm kind of cutting it at a 45. And what's happening is, so when you are trying to cut something, a lot of times what stops you from being able to cut through something is the binding force on the blade. So when you're trying to cut straight through something, your blade starts to bind. And so by bending this, what we're doing is, as we start that cut, see, like, I can't really push this knife through this, right? But if I come up on my leg and I put some pressure and I bend, it's opening up this cut and it's keeping that binding force off of the blade. Let's, we're gonna get some pressure on it. You can hear that's not, you know,
Wow.
So I'm gonna use my thumb here as a fulcrum. Trim that off. That's a decent sized branch for that size knife.
Wow, that sure is. Nice. I've been wanting to get rid of that around my fence for some time now. And I was like, I really don't know exactly how I'm gonna do it with it all wound up like that. So there we go. Got another way that I can get rid of things along the fence if they are like that, with using one of his knives. Awesome. Thanks, man.
I like to clean off whatever junk I can before I just throw her back in the sheath. There you go.
There we go. Appreciate that. As I mentioned earlier, I've had one of Patrick's knives for years. He has sharpened it for me at least once, but it's been quite a long time since I've had it sharpened. And I've done all kinds of things with that knife, from cutting open feed bags, cutting hose pipe, so you name it. Oh, on butchering day with chickens. I've cleaned it, of course, before that, but I've used it for so many different things that I was like, Patrick, my knife is dull. And thankfully he brought his sharpening equipment with him.
All my sharpening stones.
Man.
I've got this set here.
This here is an example of somebody who is a craftsman at what they do. He's got a whole bunch of tools to do the job in various ways, right?
Yeah. You know what? We'll pull out the Porsche sharpening stones and use them just because I haven't used them this trip, so we'll use those. For Patrick, knives aren't just something that he does for a hobby. It's something that he is really passionate about. It's his business. And I've seen him sharpen knives several different ways. On a machine, with belts. And this time, he's going the primitive route and using stones. But these aren't like rock stones. These are special stones for sharpening my knife. And he set up shop right by the tent on one of our picnic tables. But before he got it started with sharpening my knife, he first hooked me up with a new sheath for my knife.
Hey Dad, this sheath is so much better than this one. See?
Yeah,
this one's junk.
Yeah.
Then this one's good.
I wasn't expecting this, but he also gave me an upgrade to the handle. Ooh, Patrick's making my knife prettier.
Getting a little fancy with it.
Ooh, let's see that. Giving it a little beauty makeover. Plus a new cord so I can hang it around my neck.
You know, the tighter it is, the less room for it to move.
And since Patrick and I are like the same height, he measured it out perfectly for me.
You probably don't have to. It's a little bit. Turn it around. You're right-handed, right?
No, I'm left-handed.
You're left-handed?
Yep.
All right, now you want to get that thing sharp?
Yeah, but it feels like I got a brand new knife already. Then he brought out some really neat equipment for testing the sharpness, or you can say the dullness of my knife.
So this here is the best tester. And what it is it tests your edge sharpness. And the way it does that is you got this little filament here that's calibrated. I wonder if I got a clamp. So I use these clamps so that I can have the same tension on this cord every time. The more repeatable your processes are, the more consistent your results will be. So here we go. We got this clamp set up.
So basically with this test, you're pressing down on the knife to see how much pressure is needed with the dullness or sharpness that it has before it cuts that filament.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now I'm gonna purposely kind of go fast through it, right? Oh wow, it's only 400 dull. You know what I mean? Like that right there. So this scale can only register 200, I think it's like 200 readings a second. So if you don't give it time to read the test, you can get a lot lower number. So another cool tool that I use when sharpening, especially when teaching people, is this digital microscope. It allows me to show people what I'm looking for or looking at, okay? That scored so low, I almost wonder if we didn't hit a spot like here or there, or there's a really bad one like here, there, That's really bad. And then what I should have done is actually marked where we did test it. I'm gonna raise this up. We're gonna look straight at the edge. My fingernails are dirty.
He's looking at his fingers there.
Okay, so
Wouldn't want to see yours that close. They'd be yucky.
So let's see how close we can get this. You see that edge of the knife? See how it's flat?
Yes.
See, right here is a big piece of damage where the edge is chipped or rolled.
Yes.
All these are what makes a knife not cut. So this is really cool to be able to inspect the edge at this level. A truly sharp knife should require very little effort to actually cut something.
I think of samurais and even that one show, what is it, Forged in Fire, where they're like using their swords and they're cutting pumpkins with ease and all these other things.
So I'm going to start with this 200 grit nano hone system. This is the nano hone system.
Now, as Patrick got to work with sharpening my knives, the boys were into this a lot more than I thought that they were going to be. And to be honest with you, it was taking Patrick a little bit longer to sharpen my knife than I thought. It definitely would have been a lot faster if he would have used his machines, but with the stones, it definitely took some time.
There's a lot you can tell about a knife and how it was sharpened, and the difference between sharpening on a machine versus sharpening by hand. And there's trade-offs to be had, you know, like I can do a better job sharpening on stones, but it's going to come at the cost of my time.
And he went through stone after stone after stone with various grit to sharpen my knife. And let me tell you, I don't see myself sharpening a knife this extensively, but I know with Patrick sharpening my knife, it's going to be really sharp at the end of all this.
So this is a strop. Now, for sake of time, I didn't get this knife perfectly sharp. I mean, it's going to be sharp, don't get me wrong. But if we look at this under the microscope, you're going to see some scratches from previous grits and some cloudiness. But still, this knife will be sharper than most people have ever had a knife.
And he was able to get it way sharper than it was prior to me giving it to him.
All right, clean, fresh sheet of paper, minimal pressure.
Oh, wow.
This.
Wow. Awesome.
Let's give her the old best test. Turn her on. Get her on here. When you put this tester on here, you want to make sure it's not touching. Tear it out. All right, what do you want to guess? What do you think he's going to score?
Si, you have a guess what the number was going to be?
800.
60.
60. He's got a lot of faith in me. I don't think I've ever scored a 60. I think my lowest, it may have been a 68.
Okay.
Maybe 70. I've gotten below 100, but it's very difficult to get below 100.
Okay.
So I'm saying this is probably going to be in the 170 range, maybe 200.
Yeah, here we go.
Here we go. $222.
Ew, decide, quit it.
Oh, that's
Look,
gross.
put it back under there.
Yep.
Put it down flat on the thing. Okay, ready? Hold on, I gotta get it focused.
That's gross.
Look at that.
I wouldn't want to use those to put food in my mouth.
I haven't washed them.
Look at that.
His is prettier than yours.
All right, here we go.
What will it be?
All right, what's this one going to be?
300.
He wants to go lower.
211.
211. As Patrick was finally finishing up sharpening my knife, Lacie and Ryan came out, and I don't know what our cat was doing.
It looks like the limb fell down and hit our cat and killed it.
Oh, snaps.
Slimmy.
It does. That is so weird.
Slimmy.
Oh,
He's paralyzed.
You never lay like that.
It totally does. Right here behind Patrick. He just, bam. Did it get you? No. It's just a cozy spot. But anyways, Ryan went out to the tent to pack up their items. So how was your stay?
Good.
Your dad said the rooster woke him up about 4 or something, but he slept all right. What about you? Were you sleeping okay?
Yeah, I sleep deep. I'm a deep sleeper.
The roosters didn't wake you up?
Nope.
No?
No.
So what kind of setup did y'all have in here? Did you have a
I had
sleeping
this
mat?
pad,
Okay.
and then I had my blanket and pillow.
Okay. It didn't get too hot or too cold?
Nope.
It was just
It was
right?
a little too cold.
A little too cold? Oh.
I didn't bring a thick blanket.
Okay, so that's one thing we're gonna have to add is a sleeping bag and some other things in here for people to stay warm. But well, so glad we had you.
And I covered her up early this morning.
Oh, so she didn't have the blanket to start off?
She didn't use it all night.
I had a blanket, but yeah.
Not the blanket we had in here.
Oh, so you didn't know the blanket was in here at first?
No,
Oh,
I
okay, so there was a blanket here. She just didn't know about it until later on. Glad to have you. Thanks for visiting. Gotta come back.
Well,
done.
we have her all sharpened up.
There we go.
You should probably stay on top of it before the next 3 years.
Maybe I just need to have you come by more often. Oops, you're on right, Mike.
Oh, there you go. Snap it in.
Yeah.
There you go.
Ta-da! It was so nice to have Patrick and Ryan as our first guests to stay in our Stout tent. Hopefully they'll come and visit again.